All right, Eagles fans, let's dive right into it. The offseason is already heating up, and the drama is coming at us from every direction. First off, we've got to acknowledge the two teams that just punched their ticket to the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Those are the franchises that have shown something valuable this year, and we can absolutely learn from them. And before we even get into the analysis, I have to give a shout out to Milton Williams. The guy goes to the Patriots in the offseason, and now he's in the Super Bowl again. That is a rare feat. And it's worth noting that he has a chance to do something special. Something like what Chris Long did going to the Super Bowl with both the Eagles and the Patriots. That's a legacy move. And Milton is right there on the verge of it. Now, when we talk about what the Eagles can learn from these two teams, we need to start with the Seahawks. I'm going to give them respect where it's due. One thing that stands out is how they handled turnovers, and this might sound weird, but hear me out. The Seahawks let Sam Darnold play. They didn't suffocate him in fear of mistakes. Yes, he entered the playoffs with the most turnovers among quarterbacks. He threw 25 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. That is not ideal, and you don't want to build a championship run around turnovers. But what I like is that Seattle didn't change their identity just because of a few bad plays. They stayed committed to their approach. They trusted their quarterback, and they allowed him to make plays. That kind of confidence is something we have not seen consistently from the Eagles. The Eagles got trapped in a chokehold of no turnovers, and it ended up limiting our offense. We stopped taking chances, especially on those contested balls, when you have elite receivers like Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. You're going to have some plays that are 70-30 or even 50-50. That's the nature of the game, but at some point, you have to throw it up and let your playmakers go win the ball. We used to do that. We used to challenge defenses, but as the season progressed, we got more conservative. We only threw to receivers who were wide open, and we abandoned the riskier plays, and honestly, I think that killed us. I really do. Remember when Jalen Hurts went off after the Rams game and said we need to stop being so conservative? That was an uncharacteristic rant from him, but it showed something important. It showed that even the players recognized the issue, and then, after the next game, it seemed like we were right back to the same old habits. We didn't adjust. We didn't evolve. And that is frustrating because you can feel the potential. You can see the talent, but the coaching decisions keep holding us back. And this is not just about one game. This is about a pattern. Now, let's talk about the Patriots. And I know some of you are going to argue with me, but listen closely. Wins matter, yes, but not always in the way people think. Sometimes you have to take risks to build something sustainable. The Patriots did something that shocked a lot of people. They let go of Bill Belichick. That's not a small move. He has one of the highest winning percentages in NFL history, and he's considered one of the greatest coaches of all time. But the Patriots recognized that the team was not going anywhere with him anymore. They admitted the truth, even if it was hard to accept. It was Tom Brady all along. And the Patriots decided to take a risk, to reset, to rebuild. They went through some turbulence, went through a couple coaches, and eventually found a new head coach who rebuilt the team and got them back to the Super Bowl. And this is where I want to make a bold statement. The Eagles should consider doing the same. Fire Nick Sirianni, and if that sounds extreme, I get it, but hear me out. It would not be the end of the world. In fact, it could be the beginning of something much better. If the Eagles could get a truly elite head coach, we would still have this roster, and we would still be competitive. Nick Sirianni has had one of the most talented rosters in Eagles history, and the team has won a lot of games under him, but take away the talent, and I'm not convinced the coaching is what's driving the success. The Eagles have looked dysfunctional at times, and it's clear that the coaching philosophy has been inconsistent. The team doesn't always look like it has a clear identity. I'm not saying Sirianni is terrible. I'm saying that the roster has been so strong that it has masked a lot of coaching shortcomings. If we keep the roster and bring in a head coach who is a true leader, a real visionary, we could take this team to another level. Someone like Mike Vrabel or another proven leader could bring a fresh approach and a stronger culture. But the question is, are we willing to take that risk? Are we willing to admit that we might need a new direction? Now, moving on to the main topic, the offensive coordinator situation. This is where things get messy. First, we had the whole Cowboys incident. The Eagles tried to interview the Cowboys offensive coordinator, and Jerry Jones basically told us no. He blocked it, and honestly, I didn't like the move in the first place. Why would we try to interview a rival's offensive coordinator for a lateral move? It was bound to be blocked. The only reason the Cowboys were able to keep Christian Parker is because it was a promotion. When it's a promotion, you can't block it, but when it's a lateral move, you can. So the Eagles should have known better. The Cowboys were going to say no. And that's exactly what happened. Now, the offensive coordinator search is narrowing down. The list is getting smaller, and we have a few candidates left. Some of them are already in the Super Bowl, and that means they could potentially be open to a lateral move. There are veterans like Jim Bob Cooter, Brian Daboll, and Matt Nagy, and then there's the question of whether we want an older, experienced coach or a younger, innovative mind. There are rumors about coaches from the Seahawks and the Patriots staff. But the bottom line is this: the Eagles need to hurry up and pick someone. The longer we wait, the more teams are going to scoop up the good candidates, and here's the harsh truth: Clayton Adams is not the guy. We need a real offensive coordinator, someone who can build a consistent offense, someone who can let Jalen Hurts play and not be afraid of mistakes. We need to decide whether we want to go young and innovative or old and proven, but we cannot keep waiting. The longer we wait, the more likely it is that the best candidates will be gone, and if nobody wants to come here, then we might be forced to take a risk and hope someone decides to join Philadelphia anyway. But we have to make a choice, and we have to make it soon. Absolutely. Let's keep going. The Eagles' situation is at a crossroads, and the longer we drag our feet, the more the future gets decided without us. The offensive coordinator search isn't just about hiring a play caller. It's about defining the identity of this team moving forward. If we keep going through this cycle of conservative play calling, the same issues will keep happening. We've already seen what happens when the offense gets too cautious. The team becomes predictable. The players stop taking chances, and the momentum fades. The Eagles have a roster that can compete with anyone, but only if they allow it to play with the kind of aggressiveness that wins championships. The Seahawks and the Patriots didn't get to where they are by playing safe. Seattle trusted a quarterback who had been labeled as a backup, and they let him play his game. They didn't panic. When things didn't go perfectly, they stuck to the plan. That is a mindset that the Eagles need to adopt. The coaching staff needs to understand that the players aren't afraid of making mistakes. They are afraid of being held back. Jalen Hurts is a guy who can win games with his arm and his legs, but he needs the freedom to do it. You can't keep limiting him and expecting different results. You can't keep taking away his instincts and telling him to just play it safe. That is not how you build a championship offense, and let's not forget about the defense. The Eagles' defense has been one of the best in the league, and they deserve credit for that. But even the best defense can't win a championship if the offense is too conservative. You need balance. You need a team that can score quickly, that can make explosive plays, that can pressure the opposing defense and force them to respect the pass. When you're constantly playing not to lose, you put too much pressure on the defense. You force them to hold the line for longer, and eventually, fatigue sets in. That's how games get away from you. The offense has to be willing to take calculated risks, especially when the team is built with weapons like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. The other thing we need to address is the culture. The Eagles have talent, but the culture has been inconsistent. There are times when the team looks locked in, like they believe in each other, like they are playing with purpose. But then there are moments where it feels like everyone is just going through the motions, playing not to lose instead of playing to win. That inconsistency comes from the coaching staff. It comes from the leadership. When you have a head coach who is afraid to take risks, the players sense it. They can feel the hesitation, and that hesitation spreads. It becomes a part of the team's identity, and if the team's identity is to play safe, then you're never going to win a Super Bowl. The Eagles have been close. They've been to the Super Bowl. They've been in the playoffs. They've had a roster that most teams would envy. But the question is, what is the ceiling? What is the highest level this team can reach? Because right now, it feels like we're stuck in a loop. We get to the edge. We make a good run, and then we fall short because the offense is too cautious, or because the coaching decisions are too predictable. And the reality is that the Eagles need to break that cycle. They need to do something bold. They need to take a risk, and the Patriots are a perfect example of that. They took a risk. They made a change. They didn't let the fear of failure hold them back. They reset and came back stronger. That is what the Eagles need now. Let's get into the next part of the conversation, because the offensive coordinator search is not the only thing that matters. There's also the question of who the Eagles will ultimately choose as their offensive identity. Are we going to build a system around Jalen Hurts? Are we going to build a system around a run-first approach? Are we going to build a system around explosive passing? These are the questions that need answers, because the truth is, the roster can support multiple approaches. The Eagles have the players to do almost anything. But the coaching staff needs to decide what the team is, and once they decide, they need to commit to it. The Eagles also need to address the issue of the offensive line. The line has been solid, but there have been moments where it has struggled, especially when the offense is being conservative and not giving the quarterback enough time to make plays. The line needs to be built in a way that supports an aggressive offense. You can't ask the quarterback to be creative if he's constantly being pressured. You can't ask the receivers to make big plays if they're always having to adjust to a slow-developing play. The offensive line is the foundation of the offense, and it needs to be built for the kind of offense the Eagles want to run. And then there's the matter of the play calling itself. The Eagles need a play caller who is willing to take risks, but also knows how to manage the game. It's not about being reckless, it's about being smart and aggressive. You need a coordinator who can recognize when to take shots downfield and when to settle for a safe play. You need someone who can keep the defense guessing. You need someone who can create a game plan that is unpredictable and dynamic. The Eagles have had coordinators who have done that in the past. They've had moments where the offense was electric, but those moments have been too few and far between. The team needs consistency, and that's why the choice matters. Because if the Eagles hire someone who is too conservative, the same problems will continue. If they hire someone who is too risky, the offense could become chaotic. The key is balance. The key is finding someone who can manage the offense in a way that maximizes the talent while also minimizing the mistakes, and that is not easy. But it's necessary, because if the Eagles want to compete at the highest level, they need an offense that can win games, not just avoid losing them. Now, as the search continues, the Eagles fans are watching closely. Everyone is speculating, everyone is debating, and everyone has an opinion, and that's what makes this so intense. Because this is a franchise with high expectations. This is a team that is expected to win. And that expectation is not unfair. The roster is built to win. But expectations also bring pressure. And the pressure is on the Eagles to make the right decision. Because if they don't, they risk wasting the prime years of a roster that might not stay together forever. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL rumor mill was set ablaze after whispers began circulating that the Philadelphia Eagles are positioning themselves for one of the most audacious moves in recent league memory, a potential pursuit of Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen. While nothing has been confirmed and league offices remain silent, the mere suggestion has been enough to jolt fans, executives, and analysts across the United States. According to sources close to the situation, the Eagles front office has been quietly exploring scenarios that would redefine the franchise's offensive identity. Allen's name, long associated with Buffalo's rise to relevance, has reportedly surfaced in internal discussions as Philadelphia evaluates long-term options at the game's most important position. The idea of prying away a player so deeply tied to another team's brand sounds far-fetched. Yet insiders insist that this is exactly the kind of blockbuster maneuver the Eagles are known to at least consider. From a football perspective, the speculation is intoxicating. Allen's rare blend of arm strength, mobility, and physical presence would fit seamlessly into Philadelphia's aggressive philosophy. Coaches around the league privately acknowledge that an offense built around Allen, supported by the Eagles' roster infrastructure, could be devastating. At the same time, questions linger about salary cap gymnastics, draft capital, and whether Buffalo would ever entertain such a conversation. In Buffalo, the rumor has been met with disbelief and defiance. Allen is more than a quarterback there. He is a symbol of stability and ambition. Still, the NFL has a long history of the unthinkable becoming reality when leverage, timing, and ambition collide. Some executives point out that no player is truly untouchable if the return reshapes a franchise's future. For now, this remains firmly in the realm of speculation, fueled by hushed conversations and strategic leaks. Yet the shockwaves alone reveal something important. The Eagles are being mentioned alongside the league's boldest ideas, and Josh Allen's name has unexpectedly become the centerpiece of the latest NFL what-if, whether Smoke leads to fire or fades into off-season folklore. The rumor has already captured the imagination of the football world. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.